Hey friends, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the steps you need to take if you're going to be taking your kids out of a public or private school and starting to homeschool them. So let's get started. This is a 10-step process that I work people through if they're going to be taking their kids out of school, because it just makes everything so much more smooth, so much more easy and peaceful, less stressful. So let me work you through this so you can avoid the stress and headaches. And if you've already done it and you're like, this isn't working, time to start over at the beginning. Step number 1. The first thing you want to do when you start to homeschool your kids, you're taking them out of public school or private school and you're going to homeschool them, the number 1 thing is take a break. Most people want to get started. We're like, yeah, let's go. Now, the reason I say take a break is number 1, the kids need a break. They need some time to decompress. We're going to talk about later what you're going to do during this break to make it productive, but also they need some time to just chill. Private school and public school is emotionally, socially, and physically and mentally exhausting for kids, for parents, for everyone. Now, homeschooling is going to have its own can of worms, but you're going to find that it's very well suited to your family and works even better in most cases than public and private school. But you will need to take that time to just take a break, more relaxation, more time to think, because you're going to see why we need to do that. And they just need some time to just be, especially a lot of playtime, and just let them be outside and have fun. Enjoy some family time together if you can. But this is a break time, at least for a week, at least, okay? I generally say don't go more than 2 weeks, because it kind of is hard to get people back into the school way of life if you've gone out for more than 2 weeks. A week is a perfect amount of time to not fall out of the habit, but also get a good break in. The number 2 thing is a relationship check. During this break time is a great time to take an inventory of how your relationships in your family are going. This is especially important between who is ever going to be the child and pupil and whoever is going to be the parent and teacher. Now, maybe it's a grandparent or what have you, but the parents are going to be in a teacher role more than they have been, because parents are always teachers. But that means you're going to really need to have a good connection and a good relationship, because think about it. The people you learn best from are people that you have a relationship with, that you have a good relationship with, one of trust and love, and that you feel like you can communicate. If you're really, really lacking on these things with your child right now, then it's time to do some relationship healing. And that means have some time together to just get to know each other again, to be able to talk, to be able to do some fun things that you both enjoy, and really remember why we're even in this family together at all. Because of relationships. This is important because relationships were first. We started out in a relationship, and even though we're moving on to education and other roles, that relationship came first and it needs to stay first. So during this break time is a time that you kind of take an inventory, talk it out if you need to, and decide, where are we at? Are we doing okay? Do we feel like we have a good relationship, or do we need to work on it a little bit? And if you need to work on it a little bit, start right away so that you have a better relationship by the time you are in a homeschooling setting. Number 3 is start some unschooling. Now, most people freak out when they hear unschooling. Most people think it's like chaos and anarchy, right? It's really not that way at all. It just means it's a little less structured and more child-led. But when you're easing back into, yes, we're going to start schooling again, start with the unschooling or discovery method, as I like to call it. This is when you let your kids just learn for the enjoyment of learning. Let them ask some questions, do some research, find some books they really love, that they're passionate about, and just learn about it. They don't have to give a report or anything. Or you can just have a fun conversation about, wow, what are you learning? And you will see their eyes light up because they are so excited about what they are learning. And this is a great way to get them started and excited about education if they've gotten a little dull and not so excited about it, but also to make them feel the possibilities of homeschool, because you're going to be more in charge of your own curriculum and what you're going to be doing in your schooling. So this is a great way to start out, to just let them start asking questions, do their own research. You can give them some books and help them find answers if you need to, but this is a time for them to explore. And that might mean they're doing projects. That might mean that they're reading. That might mean they're watching videos. There's many ways of learning, right? And your child is going to do it the way they like best. And during this time, it's really essential that you pay attention, because if you haven't found out their learning style, you're really going to discover it now. You're going to find if they're more auditory, if they're more kinetic, if they're more of a person that likes to listen to someone tell them something about that, or experiment and figure it out for themselves. This is a great time to observe your child and see what really turns them on in terms of passions and education. This will help you so much as you take your homeschooling journey, to be able to pick out the correct curriculums, but also to be able to motivate them in the future when they have to do something hard. You can remind them that this is getting them towards their goal. So that third step of unschooling, discovery learning, is super important. Number 4 is to counsel together. Now, when I'm talking about counseling, that means it's a two-way conversation. That means you are going to talk to your child that you're going to be homeschooling with about what they want, what they need, what they feel like they've been lacking, also what they feel like they're doing good at, and what that is working for them in terms of their education and at school, and what they like. But also you can communicate what your expectations are and what you have a vision of and what you think will be good for them. And you guys can go back and forth and decide what is that main vision of what they're going for individually. Then, of course, you and your husband, preferably before you talk to your child, you and your husband, or if you're a husband, your wife, or whoever, whatever adults are going to be in charge of that education. Sometimes it's grandparents or aunts and uncles and things. Get those adults together and have a council as well. The adults need to have a full picture of what they're looking for, because as adults, we have a bigger picture of life, right? So we're going to want to see that big picture of what we're going for before we talk to the child and get their picture and work on it together to figure out what our main vision is going to be. Then you're going to want to do it as a whole family and talk about, what do we really want as a family? This isn't just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. This is also about what you want in feelings, relationships, skills, everything. So make sure you counsel, talk about it together, so everybody's on board. Everyone has the same expectations, the same vision. We're going towards the same thing, so that we can stay motivated and on the right pathway towards our goals. And number 5 is goals. Number 5 is making goals. This is really, really super important, because if you just have a dream and you're way over here and you have no steps in between, that's going to seem totally impossible to get over here, right? So the goals are the little steps you're going to take up towards that main dream or vision that your family counsels about, and individually what they want for their lives. So these in-between steps are the little goals you're going to make along the way to be able to get to your dream. Now, maybe you don't know all the steps. That is okay. You can just make mini steps until you figure out what the main steps are going to be. But if you have kind of a big idea, I like to say at least the 5 main steps of how you're going to get to that goal. And then once you have one big goal, you need to make smaller goals, right? Until you have daily habits that are going to get you towards what you want. Now, number 6 is super important, because when we're making our goals, there's many times we're going to go, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? That is where number 6, research, is going to become so important. Now, you do not have to have all your goals laid out. I say if you know the 5 next goals, you are awesome. You are good, right? If you only know a couple, at least have a couple, right? And if you know all of them, fantastic. But don't think you have to have everything laid out to be able to get started. Even if you're like, okay, I only know that we need to do this right now, get started, okay? Even if you make a few fumbles and mistakes along the way, that is okay. That's how you grow and learn and change and become better, right? But let me help you by working through these processes to avoid some of those stumbles. So that's where research is going to come in handy. Because when you find out the goals, then you're going to research, what are the mini steps that I'm going to need to get to that goal, right? And also, this will be really super important for homeschooling because you're going to need some curriculum. You're going to need to perhaps make your own curriculum. I do have a curriculum guide that I will link below in case you want to work on adapting your curriculum that you have or creating your very own curriculum. So that will be linked below as well. But do some research, figure out what you're going to need to do, a few steps that you need to take. Even if you don't have all the steps, get started anyway, just a few steps, right? Then we have number 7. This is where you start setting things up. This is where you get the materials you need. This is where you start organizing, okay, where are we going to do homeschooling? Where are we going to keep our materials? How are we going to keep everything organized? What is our day going to look like? What is our routine going to look like? We've made our goals now. Now we need to get to the nitty gritty, right? We need to figure out what those daily habits and routines are going to be to make everything work so that we can reach those goals. That is where setup comes in place. And this is also logistically setting things up. So you know where everything is. It's all organized in one area. Everybody knows where they do school, what time they do school, those kind of things, so that the expectations are set and communicated and everything can work more smoothly. So that setup is super important. And number 8 is the routine. I really want you to figure out what routine is going to work best for your family. Every family has a very unique schedule. They have work that is different for each family. They have extracurricular activities. They have certain curriculums they have to follow. Sometimes you have online classes you have to work around. There are all these different circumstances that you have to work with for your family, right? So it's going to be your routine. I do say that the teacher, the mom, the dad, the parent needs to have a really solid morning routine for themselves for self-care, and then have a really solid family routine that works everything through so that your home is taken care of and all the life stuff is taken care of, right? And then a homeschool routine where people know we do this, we do this, we do this, and that might be different for each child, but you want to keep a record of that so that they are very clear on what they need to do, help them, counsel with them, figure that out. And then also have a closing up routine where you shut school down, where you have some family time, you have some time at the end of the day, have a really solid evening routine so you can set things up for the next day for success, right? And so when you have these routines in place, you kind of build on each other. It creates a building structure that works so much more smoothly and gets rid of so much stress. When you're thinking about these routines, think about what's going to work best for your family, but also make sure that you have a foundation, that you're taking care of some self-care, that you have a foundation of taking care of your home, and then also with school that you have a solid routine that works for your family. Maybe you need to do math first because it's the hardest thing, and maybe you need to do art first because it gets people interested. What works for you? And that may mean that you do a little bit of experimenting to figure out what works best for your family. After you get that routine set up and you get going, it starts becoming, yes, we can do this. You're going to know right away whether this is working or not, right? And sometimes it takes a few months even to really feel like it's working correctly, but you're going to know within the first couple of weeks if it's just totally not going to work at all, or if it's something that, yes, it will work, we just kind of have to get into the rhythm of it. With this, you want to do some reflection. I do reflection every day and every week and every month, kind of as a whole, but you're definitely going to want to do it at least weekly, where you kind of look at things and say, okay, is this curriculum working? Is this schedule or routine, I like to say, because it doesn't necessarily have to be at the same exact time during the day, it just needs to be the same process. Is this routine working for us? Are our relationships going okay? It's taking an inventory of everything and saying, okay, what is working, what is not working, and whatever is not working, let's find counsel together, do some research, and find some solutions, right? Because everything has a solution. It may not be the perfect solution and it may not make everything perfect, but there are processes that you can go through to make things better, right? And that's what we're going for, constantly making things better, making the life that you love. And that comes to the 10th step, which is adapt. This entire time you're going to be adapting to your family. And I know for us, we kind of tend to go in 3 or 4 month cycles where things will work really, really well. We'll get into a rhythm, and then we'll have a wrench thrown in the works. Maybe it's an extra, maybe it's a kid, maybe we just had a kid, maybe it's a new job, maybe it's a extracurricular thing, maybe it's a new project, maybe it's all kinds of things, right? You have a family life, there's always constantly things coming in that you have to adapt to. But with the other steps in the process that you can repeat if you need to. If you feel like things are getting out of hand, you can take a break, take a relationship assessment, start doing some unschooling again so people can really feel that passionate about learning again. Be able to counsel together and make some goals and do some research, to be able to reset things up if you need to, or just adapt your setup and adapt your routine. And you're constantly reflecting on these things, not in a stressful way, not in a worry way. Set aside a time, make it part of your routine where you're like, okay, I'm not going to worry about this. I have some time set aside that I'm going to be able to look at this, and I can counsel with my spouse or counsel with the adults that are working with this with me and my family, and we can figure this out. It's not something that you need to worry and stress about. It's just something you need to be aware of. And so as you work through this process, if you need some help, I'd love to help you some more. Be sure to click like and subscribe for this video so that you can get new content. Connect with me on Instagram and Facebook so we can stay in contact and I can help you through this journey and encourage you. And also, if you want some great tools and resources, be sure to click on the link down below to visit my website and see the great resources we have and planners and courses that will help you on your journey through homeschooling. Love you guys so much. Can't wait to see you again and help you through this process. And we'll see you soon.